Hey everybody, this is Dave Sellers from the Street Food Institute. For our next installment of our little cooking instructional series, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to do a kind of a little more of a fine dining type of dish. In my previous lifetime, before I was working for the Street Food Institute, I worked in nice restaurants for many years. And this is something that we would maybe do in one of those restaurants. So what we're going to do is we're going to do tempura fried squash blossoms, which are going to be stuffed with a calabacitas goat cheese mixture, and then we're going to serve it with the basil pesto and sautéed purslane. So here are some of the components for the stuff. This is the stuff for the calabacitas. As I mentioned before, this is all stuff that we got from the RFK Charter School farm. So everything on this table is from one farm, which is pretty cool. So the ingredients are red onion, bell pepper, jalapeno, zucchini, eggplant, and yellow squash. And then this is the squash blossoms. See how nice that is, how beautiful that is. It's right on the end of the little squash. I got a bunch more in here. We have goat cheese, and then this is the purslane. Purslane is a really cool vegetable. It grows wild in a lot of places. It's all over New Mexico. It's super healthy for you. You just need to wash it good, because a lot of times it kind of grows in the sand. So we wash it real good, and it's a killer antioxidant. It's super healthy for you, and it's also it's just really, really tasty. It's used a lot in Mexico cooking, particularly in the South of Mexico, where they call it verdolagas is the Spanish word for it. So what I'm going to do first is we're just going to start sauteing this stuff. Calabacitas. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. I'm going to start with red onion. Usually we'll start that off first, get it going. Calabacitas is a Mexican dish as well. And it literally translates to little squashes. Calabaza is a squash. I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there, a little bit of pepper. Just going to kind of saute that over medium-high heat until the onions kind of start to get translucent. Then you can pretty much add most of the other ingredients. We're going to add the peppers. The jalapeno. Our squash. Our eggplant. Eggplant's not really traditional for calabacitas, but we had it, and it was nice from the farm. The squash. Then we're going to put our yellow squash in there. Just going to kind of get that going like that. Got a little more seasoning. So this you want to cook down until it's pretty soft. A lot of times in New Mexico this is done. It's the best when you do it with fresh green chili, roasted from the farmer's market as well. It's not quite, green chili's not quite ready right now, because it's just the beginning of August, like just starting to see it a little bit, but they did the peppers that they had at the farm weren't ready. A lot of times corn is also used in calabacitas. It's one of my favorite things to put in there, but again, at the farm where we got this stuff from, the corn wasn't quite ready yet. So we're using what we got. Last thing we're going to do is tomato. It's a beautiful tomato too. I added the tomatoes in. I cooked this for about 10 minutes, and that's pretty much good to go. It's totally delicious. Before it's done, you just want to check the seasoning, make sure it's okay. So what I'm going to do now is shut this off. I'm going to transfer this to the bowl to finish the stuffing. I'm going to take some of the calabacitas like that. Then what I'm going to do is, while it's hot, I'm going to mix in some of this goat cheese, like a decent amount. Because if it's a little bit hot, it'll make the goat cheese incorporate better. See how the goat cheese just kind of melts in there? And then it's really evenly incorporated. Just like that. So that's the filling. So now what you want to do is you want to cool this down, and then we're going to use it to fill the squash blossoms. Okay, so we're going to make the tempura batter for the squash blossom. We're doing a traditional Japanese tempura batter, okay? And the ingredients are two things: rice flour and soda water. A lot of people in the United States, in my opinion, make tempura incorrectly. They add egg in it, they put flour, regular flour in it. It's just supposed to be these two ingredients. So all you do is you get the cold, you want it to be cold soda water, and then you add the rice flour until it starts to thicken. You don't want it too thick. It's thinner than a regular batter. See that, how it just sticks to my finger? When it fries, you want it to be, whatever you're frying in it, you want it to be translucent so you can see through the batter and what's on the inside. So we're just gonna set this aside, and then when we're ready to tempura the squash blossoms, we're gonna use it. Okay, so now we are going to make basil pesto, which is a sauce that we're gonna use for the tempura fried squash blossoms. Pesto is a really good use of basil, especially if you have a lot of it in your garden for the summer. And it also keeps really well frozen, which is awesome. It's one of the classic Italian sauces. Fresh basil, lemon, juice, garlic, Parmesan cheese, salt, and olive oil. That's it. So basically all you do is, I've already got this stuff cleaned. Fresh garlic, I'm gonna put it in a food processor. First you wanna do is you wanna start the garlic up and puree it big. Because once you add the basil in, it won't chop up the garlic as fine. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add all this basil in. You could use a lot. The key is just to do it quick. You don't wanna puree it too much, because if you do, it'll turn the basil brown. Put a little bit of salt, a little bit of the Parmesan, and then we're gonna start pureeing it. You wanna puree it first without adding any liquid in it, because if you add the liquid in the beginning, it'll just spin around and it won't puree as much. So juice of 1 lemon. We're gonna keep on pureeing this, and then we're gonna add the olive oil. Just do it in a steady stream until it starts to liquefy. We use this as to finish off any pasta. Goes well even on sandwiches, pizza. There we go. I'm making mine a little bit looser because it's a sauce component, but that's it. See that beautiful green color? And it freezes awesomely. Like you could, if you have a ton of basil left over in your garden at the end of the summer, you can make it into these little batches of pesto and freeze it and break it out over the year as you need it. So the next component we're gonna do is the verdolagas, or the purslane. Sometimes vegetables are best just super simple, right? So we're just gonna saute it in a little bit of butter. I'm gonna take some of these, maybe do about this much, so it'll wilt down a little bit. Saute this. You just want to make sure these are washed really good, because they'll be gritty. You don't really want the butter to brown. We just want to cook them nice and soft and gentle. A little bit of salt. Take about 5 minutes to cook down like this. And that's it. You just cook them until they're nice and tender. Now we're going to stuff our squash blossoms. So this is what you do. This is squash blossom right here. Usually what you do is you take these little guys off. Everything is edible. But what you want to do is you want to take out the pistil. So usually you tear it, kind of separate it out like that, and then you open it up. You just got to be, they're super delicate, so you just got to be careful. Usually what I'll do is I'll pull it away a little bit like this, and then you pull the pistil out. See, just like that. I take these little guys off. Just kind of tear it open. Push it down. You're not really going to find these in the store, but you can get them in the farmer's market, or if you're growing squash yourself at home, you could use them. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our filling, let's put some of it in there, just like that. And I'll show you how we're going to do this. We're going to put a little bit in here, just like that. And then once it's in there, what you do is push it down so it becomes back into its real shape. In a restaurant situation or even a dinner situation, you can prepare these in advance to this point. And then all you got to do is you have them ready to go, keep them refrigerated so they stay nice and fresh, usually a damp towel on top. And then all you got to do is fry them at the last second and assemble the dish. So now we're going to do this kind of the final assembly of the dish. We are going to fry the squash blossoms and then put together the plate because we have all of our other components made. Here's our tempura batter. If it sits at all, you want to stir it every time you use it because the rice flour will sink to the bottom. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna quickly do it in a little bit of flour, like this. This is the rice flour as well. This will help the batter stick to it. And what you always wanna do is you wanna dip them in there directly into the fryer. You can do it at home in a saute pan. 350 degree oil. Then you see how nice that is? You can just grab it like that. Coat it. Just drop it in there. Careful not to splash it. Just like that. See how you can already see through it? Super delicate. About 60 seconds in there. It's not an egg batter, so you don't need to cook the egg, but you want it to be nice and hot all the way through and crispy. Should be about good. See how translucent that is? Isn't that beautiful? That's gorgeous. So good, so summery, so fresh, and so local.